All right. So this is something of interest to mention here that you could label the topic under, those who are liberal, the church and those who are liberal, or something along the lines of that. This is an interesting point here that I feel the need to speak out on, simply because I'm very different in that regards, and I believe most other Christians should be as well. In a sense, we should be liberal when it comes down to being open and accepting of those who are different, and we should be we should be quick to listen and slow to speak. There is a lot that reflects upon this that I feel the need to point out here as well. Let me see here. So as far as what the picture goes, I have this picture, and I do want to say that I did a conversation roughly 2 to 3 days ago, as of this recording right now, with a friend of mine who is in the furry community. He is Jewish as well. So the fact that this is coming out before then makes me want to add in some context with pointing back to him and the group that he is in. So there has been some very interesting notes that I've taken from the group here, and the fact that this picture is depicting a rather well-known and rather well-hated group simply because there has been issues with members sharing pedophilia and zoophilia? Zoophiles? It's basically porn of humans having sex with animals. And there's also reports of grooming of minors there. That is a problem. So I will not ever defend any of that. But I do want to say that when it comes down to the way some of these issues are handled here, as well as in real life, is a reflection of the fact that, people are not open to discussions and ideas, and they're very quick to condemn and judge. That kind of goes against what being a liberal is all about. Let me actually look something up here. I want to see what the definition of a liberal is before I go any further, because I don't know what the definition of it is. The definition of a liberal is, excuse me. Now, I would assume there's a couple of different definitions here, but they're probably going to be different than mine. Merriam-Webster, not the best place, but it is semi-popular and people do trust them, so let's go there and see what it says. Also, just because I have my own definition does not mean it's accurate either. I would defer to others when it comes down to specific things and terminologies. I believe I would consider myself a liberal at this point, simply because I am fairly open, and I do listen to other people, and I try to be a good listener and not quick to jump into judgments. All right, let's see what it says here. Broad-minded, not bound by authoritarianism, orthodoxy, or traditional forms. Okay. Favoring or based upon the principles of liberalism. Not bad. Let me see here. Not talking about liberal arts. Marked by generosity, open-handed. A liberal giver. Okay, I can get that. Given or provided in a generous and open-handed way of a liberal meal. That's a decent example. Obsolete, lacking moral restraint. Licentious. Yeah, no. So in that sense, I am not liberal. Now, many Christians are not that kind of liberal either, because they do have moral restraints. They have, what's the phrase? Morals, values, and ethics, as Hammerhand likes to say. Yeah. So that matters. All right. I want to say that on the flip side of being conservative, if you are revolving around set values, in principles, then yes, go for it. It's important. But to be liberal to the point of not having anything that is embedded in your life that matters to you, like values, morals, principles, ethics, all that, that's a problem. You don't have structure in your life that you're building around. And even though the church largely is composed of those who are conservative and those who do care and have values, that is something that you can build upon. Those who are liberal may not have that. Also, from what I'm understanding, there are many who are, what's the word? There are too many there who are liberal and emotional, and the two do not go very well together, as far as like making things, things being successful, like conversations, relationships. Usually, if the two are together, that particular person has issues that needs to be dealt with, or they are simply not taking responsibility for their own actions. So, as a whole, when it comes down to this particular group here, I want to point out that let's see, how do I put this? I had another friend who was involved in the group, and to my knowledge, he's still in that group because he has had, I don't want to say he has had decent relationships or friendships or anything like that, but I do want to say that he has never experienced any issues in that particular group. So he's never seen anything, and he's never been a part of it. So for the record, there's a lot that has passed on by that made me want to. I spent a lot of time thinking about this because there are many who want to just say the issue of pedophilia or whatever the problem is that they're discussing lies with the group itself, or any group for that matter of fact, because there are other groups out there that these issues are actually a part of. Now, as for what I know, those are pedophiles and all that, they're usually individuals. They're not a part of groups and stuff like that. They can be, sure, which is why you would hear on the news about pedophilia groups being busted and stuff like that. That's something you've heard about a couple of times, but for the most part, I'm only aware that these are individuals because, they're afraid of being caught. Now, this is a bit of a side comment here, but the damage that has occurred, when you were specifically talking about damage, I want to point out that terrorists, first and foremost, those who are radical, the radical elements of the Muslims out there come to mind simply because I was deployed and they were a big issue back then from my 2008 and 2010 deployments. Yeah, so dealing with radical elements and terrorists. And then those other lives that were destroyed thanks to feminism and to those who are exes in people's lives on a personal level. Losing half of your finances, half of your, possessions, and children. So the lives that are destroyed by them far outweigh those of those who are pedophiles. And this is specifically in reference to damage. The issues and problems that have popped up are a little bit different than just simply saying the lives that are damaged. That's something that I feel is very much needing to be pointed out since so many want to say that pedophilia is the worst thing out there. Now, the Bible does say that it is better for a person to put a millstone around his or her neck and jump off into the ocean than it is to harm or lead a little one astray. So the Bible is very clear about that. And there's other verses out there that I believe that reference to how people should be handled if they are mistreating others, especially children. So on this particular topic, I did want to keep it short, but I wanted to point out that liberalism and Christianity, or rather the church as a whole, it is something that is ingrained in it. And this is another topic that has actually surprised me simply because I was not aware that, well, you should be liberal if you are a Christian. You should be liberal in a lot of ways, as well as conservative in a lot of ways. So this is an interesting discussion that is worth talking about. Now, there is the political aspect that I feel need to be talked about here. Part of this here for being liberalism, capitalized of or constituting a political party advocating or associated with the principles of political liberalism, especially of or constituting a political party in the United Kingdom associated with ideals of individual, especially economic freedom, greater individual participation in government, and constitutional, political, or administrative reforms designed to secure these objectives, literally. So when it comes down to the political nature of it, that can be a problem. That can specifically be a problem. However, it is tied to growth. It is tied to economic growth, I believe. So it is not, evil, quote unquote, but it can backfire and it can cause unintended side effects and consequences that should be noted. Well, that is basically about it. I will upload this. This is meant to be something short and simple, very quick. Obviously, it's not that quick since it's going on like 12 minutes here, but it's interesting enough that I feel it is worth pointing out. All right, until next time.